Yeah. All right. We will start a few lines above where we ended up so that we have a context. Just above the middle of the page, Yud Aleph, the line starts with Moshe Zehu. So up until this point, we were explaining the inyan of the birur of Hashem Ban through the effect of Hashem Ma. So that the Shem Ma, this brings, I said, as a result of the spoilers and so forth, ultimately it brings a gilui of the etzem of the spheres. And this is the spheres, agnuzim matzilon, spheres that are treasured within the matzah. We discussed yesterday briefly this principle. And this is the inyan from Hamshochas Meichach Hadoshim, which is the Maho Atzmi, and so forth. So far we were talking here, we were speaking about the Hamshocha, what's called Mimailo Lamata, coming down from above, from the Chochma, from the Esesphiras Hagnuzes into Esesphiras Hagluyes. Now we continue on bringing out the similar principle from a different angle. Okay, the line begins Shezehu begins Reisha Datikim. Olefi Mashin is boy liyil. According to what we explained earlier, B'Shem Azeh Chodesh, quoting the Azeh Chodesh, Haderech, that Haderech Teiro Hu Milmato Lamaylo. Because we said that this inyan, this Hamshoch, that it comes, that it mamshich keser into the spheres, into Chochmah, that this is the Derech HaTeiro. Because Teira brings down that which is higher than Seder Ishtalshalos into the world. But the Zohar Chodesh says that the derech of Torah is not milmaylo lamato, but milmato lamaylo. It's something which rises from the bottom up. How do we understand the principles which we explained now, which is the gilui of the essence of the spheres, the atzmim, of the Shem Maho Atzmi? If it comes milmato lamaylo, which means a true berurim of Shem Ban. The inyan is like this. The hine, yiridas havshoma lamato, the neshama coming down here below, hu bishvil hu aliyah. It is for the sake and with the intent to accomplish an aliyah, to elevate the neshama. And what is this aliyah? The whole, which is that the neshama should rise up. Mibechinas ihu v'garmo yichad, lebechinas ihu v'chayo yichad. The neshama, to start with, is our neshama elokis, and it recognizes elokus, which means in the inyan ihu v'garmo yichad, in other words, that ihu v'garmo yichad is a madregi in Atzilus. But in our terms, the principle of following through of Kabbalah Soil, principle of Nasa v'Nishma, this is inherited in the Neshama, without any avoid. But the union of Aliyah milmat aliyah, he should rise from Iv Garmoy Hichad, where it needs to be Garmoy, it needs to be instructed what to do, because Garmoy, the Kelim do not have a direct connect to Elokus. Lebechinas Iv Chayei Hichad, to the Bechina that the Kelim Chayei is like my Kelim are like Chayei, which is one thing which are totally sensitive of the Etzem Inyan. You don't need to instruct them. How is that accomplished? This is affected through the Aveda. It's almost counterintuitive, but this is how it's accomplished. By dealing with the Nefesh Abamis, and to correct and perfect and birur and coming up, sorting out all the elements in Nefesh Abamis. As a result of that, the Neshama rises to recognize and to madrega of Hiyu B'Chayei Echad, where there isn't a separate mitzias of Kelim. How is this accomplished? Nefesh Abamis hu mitzias chumri v'gashmi. But the Nefesh Abamis is a mitzias, is an entity, a chumri v'gashmi, a coarse and physical. We discussed yesterday. Here with the Nefesh Abamis is a nefesh, is a ruchnisdike nefesh. Yet it is a correct description of Nefesh Abamis chumri v'gashmi, because of the fact that despite its ruchnisdike consistency, presence, all it really can relate to, all it can identify with, is chumri v'gashmi. It's chumrius v'gashmius. I think I'm going to come back to these couple of words after we get to the next line. Validehu aveda nefesh olikis. And then, Validehu aveda nefesh olikis, by the effect of the aveda nefesh olikis, shepoyel bitl hayesh nefesh abamis. This aveda affects a bitl of the yesh of nefesh abamis. Beetle ha-chumrius shalai, which is the beetle of the chumrius, of the coarseness of nefesh abamis. And what does it mean? How do you affect? What is the meaning that the chumrius of nefesh abamis is bottle? Sheyenichlal benefesh ha'elikis. The chumrius, the beetle ha-chumrius of nefesh abamis is, the definition of it is sheyenichlal benefesh ha'elikis, that nefesh abamis should become incorporated, nichlal, part and parcel of the nefesh elikis. In other words, the nefesh abamis should become sensitive to the perspective and the sensitivity of the nefesh elikis, the light of the nefesh elikis. And in order to accomplish that, there has to be a clearing out and a nullification of the chumrius of the nefesh abamis.
Chayuah is kelim.
Chayuah is the kelim at a much higher level. Garmoy is kelim and chayuah is kelim. Garmoy are the kelim on the lower level. Chayuah on the higher level, where the kelim themselves are also lukus. Like chokhmah is called chayuah. Which we discussed yesterday.
Yeah.
Or the day before.
And it doesn't mean life, like his life?
Yeah.
Wouldn't the life be the light? And
It's called life because life is the effect of the light, which is like the keli. The life, like the nefesh gives life to the body, which is not nefesh. Even the body can receive this type of effect. That's not the etzem nefesh. That's only the metzius of the nefesh. Coarseness. Okay, so it would be appropriate for us to identify the principle of the chumrius and gashmius of the nefesh habamis. Essentially, this is not new, of course, but now we have to kind of focus in and identify it clearly. It says, we say in Krishna, you should not follow and seek out the desire of the heart, and the demonstration of the eye. So the Gemara says, the eye sees and the heart desires. We're all familiar with this scenario. And it would seem to be a perfectly natural thing. So how is the Torah saying, this is what the human being is? However, when you reflect on this, a completely different perspective surfaces. This is what we discuss all the time. What is a human being versus an animal? A human being came to the world to bring light, not to be affected by the world, not to find out what the world is by Ayin Rei V'Alev Chemit. Which means he is then a derivative, an effect of the world. He's supposed to affect the world, not to be affected by it. Everybody knows the difference between affect and effect, hopefully, right?
Effect and affect.
Effect. The human being is supposed to be the mashpia. Has to bring new light, to be oir hama, oir holoki, ma. Not be just a result and reflecting what's in the world. An animal, that's what an animal is. An animal does not have a sense of reality on its own. The sense of reality is only when he has a stick and it hits him, then he knows that there is something real. Its reality is based on Ayin Roya, or its personal experience. A human being has a completely different nefesh, a completely different resource. It's an etzem. Etzem means his light comes from the etzem nefesh, not from the external effect. The nefesh habahamis has this, no matter how smart it is, even though nefesh habahamis of a human being is not the nefesh habahamis of an animal, the behemoth. But in essence, there is a very great similarity. That it too does not have its own perception of right and wrong, of good and bad, of what life is about. It is in response. It is reacting to its environment. And what's its environment? In other words, what does it recognize? Chumri v'gashmi. That which hits it, that which strikes it, that becomes its reality. It does not have a background of reality itself to judge, okay, this is right and this is wrong, this is good, this is bad. That's not, doesn't have it. That's Nefesh Abamis, a behemoth. Even the Seichel, Nefesh Abamis has Seichel. And the Seichel Nefesh Abamis is extremely valuable in terms of ultimately to be Mevar Nefesh Abamis, to explain to it, but naturally, its Seichel only explains how to get that which it desires, that which it sees. The Nefesh Elokis, on the other hand, has a totally different approach, different perspective. It's the whole mitzvah is totally different. It is not a mitzvah, and it is not affected by Ayin Rei V'Alev Chayim. Its inyan is only the Elokus element that's imbued, that it represents, that it sees. And it constantly recognizes the inyan Elokus. Where is the Metzias? What is the reality that Nefesh Elokis recognizes? Not the reality of the world. This, regardless of what the world shows. Even if, so to speak, even if there's a stick, Nefesh Elokis doesn't get spoiled from that. That's not what Nefesh Elokis is about. Nefesh Elokis is recognizes the reality only in Elokus. And the Biru Nefesh Abamis by the Nefesh Elokis is to affect in the Nefesh Abamis a certain sense, to whatever degree, that the reality is Elokus, not Gashmis. And as we said, for example, if the Nefesh Abamis can be convinced to do a skafia, even though Ayin Rei V'Alev Chayim, he sees this thing, and that is its natural reaction. Like a dog. Can a dog control itself not to bark? There's no way. That's what its nature is, unless the master gives it a bang in the head, right? Otherwise, poof. Doesn't contemplate it. This is its reaction. That's the Nefesh Abamis. And then when Nefesh Abamis is trained and guided by Nefesh Elokis, no, this is not the way to react. There is something much more significant, much greater. So first there is a control, there's a skafia, and then it reaches his heart. But that's the Biru Nefesh Abamis by the effect of Nefesh Elokis. To the extent where it becomes nichlal be'Nefesh Elokis. It becomes actually incorporated in the Nefesh Elokis, which means it begins to look at things and sees things from the Nefesh Elokis perspective, from the godly reality, rather than the worldly, insignificant courses, mitzias. That's a complete transformation of Nefesh Abamis.
It's only because the Ayin Roya of the Nefesh Abamis is Elokus.
Is what?
The Ayin Roya of the Nefesh Abamis is Elokus. It touches the Nefesh Abamis. That's why it changes. Its orientation changes, or its nature changes. I mean,
no, not. The initial thing is no. It dissociates itself from the process of Ayin Rei on Chaim. It realizes this is not the reality. The reality is as the Nefesh Elokis is presenting it. The reality is not just because there's a Gashmi, it's real. It's not. What is its purpose? What is the godly element in it? So, and the godly element is not a reactive element. In other words, it's not the Ayin Rei V'Alev Chayim. This is something which you have to understand and provide it with an illumination. And thus you have to ask the Nefesh Elokis, what is this about?
But doesn't the Nefesh Abamis see that it's good for it, right? Isn't that seeing in terms of physical way at first, or maybe at first, and then it becomes.
anything that comes after you see it is an effect based on Chumris and Gashmius. Not an effect that comes from Ilmaila, from Elokus. People go shopping. There are two types of shopping. A person identifies in his home he needs such and such. He goes to the store and looks for this thing, buys it and goes. Okay? That's a human way to shop. Shopping based on wisdom. You identify what you need, you go and look for it. Then there's another type of shopping where you go, you know, oh yeah, I want it. Oh yeah, I want it. Yeah, I want it. All of a sudden, you need everything in the store. You buy out the store. You buy it out and you come home, you have no place to put it. Oh, let's return it. Yes.
The Nefesh has Emunah, has Chochmah, Yesham Batzvei Rishon, has Ratzon, has Oinin, and that makes the Emunah compelling. The Nefesh Abamis doesn't have any of these things. How does the Nefesh Abamis?
That's what we said. Nefesh Abamis also has Seichel. And the Nefesh Alakis affects the Nefesh Abamis in an orderly and gradual manner. Well, the person begins to show him that, like we said over here, just an example. Look, you're wasting your money. This is not the way to do it. You know, slowly it teaches Nefesh Abamis how to control its reaction. And then the next step is teaches how to be proactive and seek that which is necessary. And then all the way up, it becomes nichla b'nefesh alakis, not what is necessary, but what is true. Because pursuing the mitzad elokus itself. But even that which is necessary, the Alter Rebbe says, is also not necessary.
Does it have a rotzain for that? I mean, how does that become compelling?
It doesn't. Yes, it has a rotzain for that. Once you show him what is really beneficial, then the Nefesh Abamis can transform its rotzain to that. But first, he has to see. He doesn't see it on his own. It's a pain.
What was the meaning here of showed what is beneficial?
Right. And it's possible even to the point where nichlalas b'nefesh alakis, because ultimately through avodah you can show them is that what is beneficial is actually to know only alakos. Ultimately, that is really beneficial.
So somehow the Nefesh Abamis becomes convinced of that, or has a perception even of that.
That's right. That's called his hapcha. This is the power of seichel. Because seichel is able to recognize and to the principle of seichel is even Nefesh Abamis. Seichel relates to oir. There is a seichel, like we said, 1 and 1 could be 2 ones. That's not even seichel. But if you pursue it on the seichel level, you can say, no, you know what? It's 2. Thereby, you're already elevating the insight of Nefesh Abamis.
Nefesh Abamis can relate to or.
And through the seichel, you can relate to it. Because seichel, by definition. This is the gift. Seichel is bittul.
Which the Nefesh Bahamis lacks.
What?
Which
The
is
Nefesh
lacking.
Bahamis has, but it's not relating to it at first. It uses the seichel to substantiate its hakshoma. How do I get this? How do I get that?
Uh-huh.
How do I become richer than the other guy? All based on hakshoma. But seichel is also able to has an element of bittul. The principle of seichel is bittul. When you tell the Nefesh Bahamis, go work very hard and you'll become rich, he has to have an element of bittul to go and work very hard. No matter what it is, right? That's seichel.
That's seichel. That's not just delaying its result. I mean, that's
Yeah, but it's still to convince him to work very hard, and it's like putting all his days into it is a bittul.
uh-huh.
That is pretty good training as a first step.
Uh-huh. So this is kind of a Nefesh Bahamis which is close to Nefesh Sichli, the intellect of the man. I
The
mean,
Nefesh Bahamis has seichel. That's what you said.
it has seichel. Because a real behemoth doesn't.
The real behemoth doesn't.
Fine.
The seichel, the real behemoth is to the extent that it has a boss, a human being.
Mm-hmm. Right.
That's a posik. Yoda shirka nehu v'chameir eivus b'yolov. An ox knows his purchaser, who owns him. It's really an amazing thing. Right? You go into a kennel and you buy a dog. All of a sudden, the dog changes allegiance to you. You put the leash on him, and finished. He's your dog. He's your doggy. And you respond to the name that you give. Huh? Okay, but the point is, it can go to the point where it becomes nichlal b'nefesh olekis. That's called the aveda of Biro Nefesh Bahamis. All right, and the next step we will take a mitzvah this evening. I want to be clear. Lately, we've been starting Thursday night instead of 8:30, closer to 9 o'clock. So, what is it? We need a response to people. Some people come at 8:30, and they sit and wait for a half hour. But I don't know how to arrange it. Is 8:30 the right time, or 9 o'clock? Or 9 o'clock is the right time? Okay, so I'll tell you what.